match of Hearthstone, so take your time, make the right call.
I do think that this warrior deck is much more attuned to taking down aggro decks. It does not have much pressure on its own. It's running a N'Zoth, but only has a couple of targets actually in the deck for that N'Zoth. And I do think with the Reno Mage, you are going to need to outpressure it eventually, because Frostlich Jaina will come down, and you will have to deal with an army of water elementals. And I just don't know that the warrior has the amount of aggression and pressure to be able to get that job done. So though it can go very long, it can't actually deal a lot of damage. So LvGe just going to go with this Paladin deck first up and hope that Jinsoo doesn't have the answers that he needs.
Bet you that Divine Favor looks real good, especially if Jinsoo opts to Arcane Intellect on 3. I could see Arcane Intellect, or I could also see a Coin Explosive Sheep kill the Explosive Sheep. Maybe?
Yeah, or Explosive Sheep and ping off a Divine Shield, I think is fine as well. I don't know that you want to quite coin Kazakus just yet, but when you are thinking about using the coin on your turn, you do need to make note of how your future turns are going to play out. Does the coin this turn disrupt the future turns for Jinsoo just a little bit too much? Can he afford to take the damage right here and then save that coin to have a smoother curve going forward? And he thinks that that's likely just going to be the case.
He didn't, I mean, obviously Jinsoo didn't know there's a Divine Favor, but LvGe's got to be so happy about that. Hero Power on 2, Hero Power on 3 means that Jinsoo has got a full grip of cards that allows LvGe to load up in a way that aggro decks never load up. Like, aggro decks don't get to play 3 mana draw 6s, and so that's going to really set up LvGe for a strong game.
I mean, in aggro mirrors, Divine Favor is often 3 mana draw a card, or 3 mana draw no cards, but when you're playing it against control, suddenly you wish you had 2 of them every single time. It's a very powerful card in certain scenarios. And Jinsoo going to take the 1 mana potion here from Kazakus, definitely looking for deal 2 damage to all. Not finding it, unfortunately.
Didn't get it, but we did get, it looked like it was maybe deal 3, play a 2/2. Summon a 2/2 demon, deal 3 damage. So that's a very efficient 1 mana card that can help stabilize the board. But I think LvGe got a great start, not just with the huge Divine Favor, but all the Divine Shields that he has is really tough for a direct damage deck. Like, I mean, there's no Defiles in this, right? Defile's one of the main things that gets through a Divine Shield while also killing the minion under it. And instead, Jinsoo's kind of stuck with his blizzards and his meteors and his flame strikes. And there's a bunch of Divine Shields on board. Not much you can do about that.
Yeah, the mage unfortunately would need to spend multiple turns utilizing the hero power usually before it can actually find a clear. And this is what I'm talking about.
Real
a well-timed
Lothar.
Lothar behind a board just shuts down your opponent for an entire turn, especially Reno Mage, which is very heavily spell-oriented for its removal. And we don't see Reno in hand for Jinsoo. So what can he really do this turn other than play down that Explosive Sheep and potentially start clearing up some of this board?
If you Explosive Sheep and ping it, you're going to kill your own Kazakus after you, but you'll wipe the 2 mini-bots and the Righteous Protector, leaving just a 5/3 Lothar behind, which is at least a little bit more deal-withable, because next turn you can Frostbolt it or something, trying to stabilize. The other option is, of course, the Piloted Shredder, which seems way worse. I mean, I don't know. You can play Piloted Shredder, but then your opponent's going to start with 10 damage on the board when you're at 16, and that aggression cannot stand, dude.
Piloted Shredder is much more of a challenge on the board over the course of a couple of turns. Maybe it'll help you to stabilize better than the Explosive Sheep would this turn. But you also just take a lot of damage. And without Reno in hand, Jinsoo is feeling like he is not at the liberty to take that much damage just yet. So the Explosive Sheep is going to be the play. And then LvGe, knowing that Jinsoo likely has some form of removal here. He's got the coin in hand, so it's either coin Flame Strike, or it's Blizzard, or it's Meteor, something, is going to want to still put enough of a board in play that Jinsoo feels the need to play that AoE removal, but also not too much that he doesn't have resources to play next turn. So you really need to ride the line between baiting out the removal and not overextending here.
And with getting the lion out, the crystal lion out, there's now a problem of, like, even if you had something like Dragonfire Potion, right, like just some huge arbitrary high number that will wipe everything on the board, it's not going to get through the Divine Shield of the crystal lion. So even with Blizzard in hand, it's only like so good. It's not really like a huge help here. It's going to play it.
I mean, it's going to shut down all the damage for 1 turn.
Yeah.
It gives Jinsoo more time. It gives him more time to figure out a definitive game plan. And it is looking like he is starting to develop one, because remember, we have that Kazakus potion, which deals 3 damage. You can use the Kazakus potion and a coin Baron Geddon next turn, potentially, to clear off the full board, or even just the Kazakus potion, Frostbolt, and a ping to take out the Lothab.
And I think you might have called it there, because Annoyotron's going to come down. Both of those Divine Shields are going to get wiped. And if that coin Baron Geddon comes out, we can pretty much say bye-bye to this whole board. And this time, LvGe doesn't have a ton to reload with. He really wants to rip a muster off the top of his deck to make use of the Steward of Darkshire or the Quartermaster.
Here's the thing. If we see Baron Geddon come down, Jinsoo goes to 7 health. And then, I mean, there's Sunkeeper Tarim in hand, which does 6. There's a lot of ways for LvGe to close out this game very, very quickly if that Baron Geddon does come down.
You just leave Baron Geddon on the board. He'd be at 1 after the end of the turn, and you'd pass it, and Jinsoo would have to figure out a way to kill his own Baron Geddon.
Yeah. I mean, Tarim would equalize everything, so the Geddon could go into the Annoyotron then.
You could ice block.
But you're putting Jinsoo on 1 health.
Right.
And if you don't see Reno Jackson right then, you know you've won the game.
Correct. So yeah, maybe we'll see the ice block to buy a little time. But you're right, he's got to get some. I mean, he has to get some sort of challenging board state here, because you can't just play ice block and pass.
He's just got to do it.
Here we go.
This is his only option. I mean, it's not his only option. Could have played ice block and guaranteed been alive for the next turn, but that is not a winning play. This potentially could be.
This at least, you know, you're challenging LvGe to, like, all right, kill me this turn, and he can't do it, although it's really close. That's Rallying Blade puts him to 5, right?
Rallying Blade and double Annoyotrons to face, put Jinsoo at 2 and force Jinsoo to somehow kill off his Baron Geddon. How does he do it? Because Ice Block doesn't save Jinsoo from his Baron Geddon killing himself at the end of turn.
Is Meteor friendly or enemy? Or any?
Might be any.
You've never had to meteor your own minions either, huh?
I have never been put in that situation, and I hope that I never am.
I think you might end up holding the Rallying Blade, though, as a surprise. So, for example, if you Quartermaster and do the same thing, right? He still has to, or no, sorry, not Quartermaster, Tarim, and go face. He has to kill a 3/7.
Yeah,
like, I guess you could run Baron Geddon into Tarim and then Frostbolt your own Geddon.
Well, no, Baron Geddon becomes a 3/3 then, so Baron Geddon just runs in and dies.
Just runs and dies.
No,
okay.
this. Okay, so LvGe
this is the way to do it, but
is not going for the Baron Geddon killing Jinsoo lethal, which, you know, I wouldn't hate to see, that's for sure, but this does leave that Rallying Blade open for a block pop if Jinsoo has it, and it's not. None of those plays were really quite so all in the face of Reno Jackson, but
do you think you just
regardless,
go, like,
Jinsoo doesn't have it.
You can go Ice Block, Arcane Elect, and just really try to dig down and try to find that Reno as soon as possible. But yeah, you're right. You can't leave this board of like 9 power. I mean, even if you trade Geddon into a 3/3, you're still leaving 9 power on the board, which is pretty bad, even if you heal up.
You can't Meteor this turn because you can't play Ice Block then, and you have to play Ice Block or you're dead. So how does Jinsoo find his way out?
I think it's like Ice Block, Arcane Intellect, and then you either play a Frostbolt or you play the Mad Scientist. Yeah.
Just need to find Reno Jackson. Jinsoo can play Arcane Intellect and Reno Jackson in the same turn next turn, so he's going to go ahead and play down that Blood Mage Thalnos to draw for the next turn and maximize the amount that he actually can draw. But LvGe putting Jinsoo on Reno or bust, and even if Jinsoo does manage to find Reno, LvGe is going to have a powerful board on the backswing. It's that Reno, oh gosh, what's it called? Reno Backlash.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Like,
it's like when there's a fire and you like
backdraft.
Backdraft, yes, the Reno Backdraft.
Here comes Rallying Blade out. That is a whole lot of pretty tough, hard to remove creatures. So even if we, you're right. Even if we go ahead and pull the, I think it was that trigger duplicate and just duplicate trigger right away. No, it doesn't.
I just want to say that sequencing from LvGe was awesome. Killing off Blood Mage Thalnos and making it so that Jinsoo could draw the secret instead of the secret being immediately pulled from Mad Scientist, and he did. So that it's little stuff like that that separates really phenomenal players from maybe the more new to the game players who don't have quite as much experience, but that sequencing was beautiful. And LvGe going to